The Simpsons has been on the air since 1989, and in that time, it's developed a strange reputation. Fans claim the show predicted Donald Trump's presidency, smartwatches, video calls, and even COVID-19. Some of these feel uncanny. Others feel like people reaching for patterns that aren't really there. But as we head into 2026, there are moments from the show that feel less like predictions and more like warnings. Not because The Simpsons can see the future, but because the writers were paying attention to where things were already heading. So, let's look at 7 moments that might hit a little too close to home in the coming year. We start with Bart to the Future, from season 11, the episode where Bart gets a vision of himself at 40 years old. In this future, set in 2030, Lisa is president of the United States. She's just taken office, and the country is in shambles.
We're broke.
The country is broke? How can that be?
The previous administration, as the episode explains, left America broke. The government invested heavily in programs that backfired, and now the nation is drowning in debt. Lisa has to meet with foreign creditors just to keep the lights on.
All right, how can we pay off our foreign debt?
When this episode aired in 2000, it was satire, but in 2026, it feels prophetic. The US national debt is over $34 trillion and climbing. Whoever takes office in the next few election cycles will inherit an economy strained by decades of spending, tax cuts, and mounting obligations. The idea of a president walking into office only to discover the country is financially underwater isn't a joke anymore. It's increasingly plausible. The Simpsons didn't predict this. They just understood that unchecked spending has consequences, and those consequences eventually come due. Next is Lisa's wedding from season 6, which takes place in 2010 and shows a future where video calls are commonplace. Lisa talks to Marge on a screen, and it's treated as totally normal.
Hi, Mom.
Lisa, hello!
When the episode aired in 1995, video calls existed in concept, but they weren't mainstream. By 2010, Skype and FaceTime were becoming standard. Now, heading into 2026, video calls aren't just normal, they're expected. Zoom, Teams, FaceTime, they've replaced in-person meetings in ways that would have seemed dystopian 30 years ago. But here's the thing. This wasn't a prediction. Video calling technology was already being developed in the early 90s. The Simpsons writers just assumed it would eventually go mainstream because the technology was already there. What makes it feel eerie is how completely it's taken over our lives. The show imagined it as a convenience. The reality is that it's become a requirement. That's the scary part. Not that The Simpsons saw it coming, but that we couldn't see how dependent we'd become. Then there's the Trump prediction, which actually comes from Bart to the Future, the same season 11 episode we already mentioned. In that episode, when Lisa becomes president in 2030, she mentions that her administration inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. How bad is it, Secretary Van Houten?
That line aired in March 2000, 16 years before Trump actually won the presidency in 2016. But let's be honest, Trump had been flirting with presidential runs for decades. He talked about it in the 80s, the 90s, and actually ran in the 2000 Reform Party primaries around the same time this episode aired. The Simpsons didn't predict Trump would become president. They made a joke about a celebrity businessman who wouldn't stop talking about running for office. And they connected it to the idea of a country in financial ruin, because that's what satire does. It exaggerates current trends. It just happened to come true.
We're broke.
The country is broke? How can that be?
As we move toward 2026 and beyond, the lesson isn't that The Simpsons can see the future. It's that celebrity politicians aren't going away. If anything, that trend is accelerating. Now we get to something more unsettling. In Lisa the Skeptic from season 9, Lisa discovers what appears to be an angel skeleton during an archaeological dig.
Everybody, come quick!
The town goes into a frenzy, believing it's a sign from God. People abandon reason. The media sensationalizes it, and Springfield descends into chaos over something that turns out to be a publicity stunt for a new mall.
Why was I programmed to feel pain?
The skeleton was fake, planted to generate hype. This episode aired in 1997, but it mirrors something happening right now. Misinformation spreads faster than ever. People believe things because they want them to be true, not because they are. Social media amplifies this. A single fake story can go viral, shape public opinion, and influence elections before anyone bothers to fact check it. Heading into 2026, this is only getting worse. Deepfakes, AI-generated content, and algorithmic echo chambers make it harder to know what's real. The Simpsons didn't predict this. They just understood that people are gullible and that someone will always try to profit from that. The technology has changed, but the pattern hasn't. Next is Marge in Chains from season 4, an episode that became infamous during the COVID-19 pandemic. In it, a flu called the Osaka flu arrives in Springfield from Japan via a shipment of juices.
Please don't tell the supervisor I have the flu.
I've been working with a shattered pelvis for 3 weeks.
The town panics, people get sick, and a cure is eventually found. Fans pointed to this episode as proof The Simpsons predicted COVID, but that's not accurate. Pandemics have happened throughout history. The 1918 flu, SARS, H1N1, they follow similar patterns. A virus emerges, it spreads, people panic, and eventually, science finds a solution. What makes this episode relevant to 2026 isn't that it predicted COVID, it's that it shows how society responds to disease. The panic, the misinformation, the hoarding, the breakdown of trust in institutions. Those things happened in 1993 when the episode aired. They happened during COVID, and they'll happen again. Because human behavior doesn't change. As we move further into 2026, the possibility of another pandemic isn't a question of if, but when. And if history and The Simpsons have taught us anything, it's that we won't handle it well. Then we have Make Room for Lisa from season 10, where Lisa's room is taken over by a cell phone company that installs a transmitter in the Simpson house. The episode aired in 1998, back when cell towers were just starting to become a normal part of the landscape. Today, cell towers are everywhere. 5G infrastructure is spreading rapidly, and by 2026, the push for even faster connectivity will mean more towers, more data collection, and more questions about privacy and health. The Simpsons didn't predict 5G towers specifically, but they understood that technology companies don't ask permission. They move in, they take space, and they prioritize profit over people's comfort. In the episode, the Simpsons are compensated, but Lisa loses her personal space. That's the trade-off.
I can't believe you did this, Dad. Why didn't you put that thing in your room?
Convenience for autonomy. As we head into 2026, that trade-off is becoming more lopsided. We're surveilled constantly. Our data is harvested. Our devices listen to us. The Simpsons saw this coming, not because they had a crystal ball, but because the pattern was already there. Finally, we have Lisa the Tree Hugger from season 12, where Lisa becomes an environmental activist and chains herself to a tree to prevent it from being cut down.
Now you come down from there, Missy!
I won't come down till you spare this tree!
The episode treats environmentalism with a mix of sincerity and satire, showing how Lisa's idealism clashes with corporate interests. The episode aired in 2000, but it feels more relevant now than ever. Climate change is no longer a distant threat. It's happening. Wildfires, floods, extreme weather. These aren't predictions anymore. They're the reality heading into 2026. Activists are getting louder. Corporations are resisting change, and governments are caught in the middle. Lisa chaining herself to a tree was played for laughs, but in 2026, real activists are doing exactly that. They're blocking pipelines, occupying forests, and putting their bodies on the line to slow down environmental destruction. The Simpsons didn't predict this. They just understood. As long as profit matters more than the planet, people will have to fight to protect it. So why does The Simpsons feel prophetic? It's not magic, it's math. The show has been on for over 30 years and produced more than 700 episodes. That's thousands of jokes, plot lines, and throwaway gags. Statistically, some of them are going to line up with real events, but it's more than that. The writers are smart. They pay attention to culture, technology, and politics. They notice patterns and they exaggerate them for comedic effect. When those exaggerations come true, it feels like prediction, but really, it's just good satire. The predictions that feel scariest aren't the ones about technology or celebrity presidents. They're the ones about human behavior, the panic, the greed, the willingness to believe comfortable lies over uncomfortable truths. Those patterns don't change. The Simpsons holds up a mirror to society, and what we see isn't the future. It's who we've always been. Move into 2026. The question isn't whether The Simpsons can predict what's coming. The question is whether we're paying attention to the patterns they've been showing us all along. If you found this interesting, hit like and subscribe. There's plenty more where this came from.